Chosen ones, I need you to listen carefully, not with your ears alone, but with your spirit, because this is one of those moments where heaven leans in and waits to see how you will respond. God says there is a person connected to your assignment, and you have been sensing their name, their face, their situation, even when you tried to ignore it. You thought it was just compassion. You thought it was empathy. You thought it was your personality. But God says it is instruction. You should help this person, because your obedience in this season is not just about you anymore. This is bigger than your comfort, bigger than your schedule, bigger than your plans. There are divine intersections that only happen when a chosen one says yes without needing all the details. You have been asking God for clarity about your next level, about your breakthrough, about why certain doors feel delayed, even though you have been faithful. And God says, before I open what you're praying for, I need to see how you handle what I place in front of you. This person you are being nudged to help is not a distraction. They are a test of stewardship, not Eve. God brings into your life is meant to stay forever, but some are meant to reveal what's truly in your heart. God says the way you treat them will determine how much I can trust you with what's coming next. You don't fully know their story, and that's intentional. If you knew everything, you might help them for the wrong reasons. God says, I don't want you moved by guilt, pressure, or applause. I want you moved by obedience. This person may not be able to repay you. They may not even say thank you the way you expect. They might misunderstand your intentions. But God says, when I ask you to help someone, I am not asking you to fix them, rescue them, or carry their burdens as your own. I am asking you to become a vessel through which my provision can flow. Chosen one, you have always a heart that feels deeply, and that's why the enemy tried so hard to harden you through betrayal, disappointment, and emotional exhaustion. There were seasons when you helped people who took advantage of you, seasons when you poured into others and were left empty, seasons when you said never again. But God says, don't let past wounds make you disobedient in the present. This is not a repeat old cycles. This is a new assignment with new boundaries and divine covering. God says the help I'm asking you to give is not random. It may be a word of encouragement at the right moment, a financial seed you didn't plan to sow, a connection that opens a door for them, or simply your presence when everyone else walked away. You keep trying to define help in human terms, but God says sometimes help is spiritual before it is practical. Sometimes your obedience releases angels to move on their behalf in ways you will never see. You've been wondering why your discernment has been sharpening lately, why you can sense people's pain even when they smile, why you feel unrest when you see certain situations. God says, I am training you to move when I whisper, not when I shout. This person is company, connected to a timeline you cannot yet see. If you delay, overthink, or talk yourself out of obedience, you risk missing a window that will not remain open forever. Chosen ones, hear this clearly. Helping this person will cost you something, but it will not cost you what you think. It will not drain you the way fear suggests. It will not set you back the way doubt whispers. God says what you give, will return multiplied, but not always through the same hands. You are not sowing into them, you are sowing into obedience. And obedience always carries a return that money cannot measure. You've been praying for God to use you, for your life to matter beyond survival, beyond routine, beyond just getting by. God says, this is how I use my chosen ones. Not always on stages, not always in front of crowds, but in quiet acts of obedience that shift destinies. The person you help today may speak your name in a prayer years from now when you need divine intervention. You don't know whose prayers are connected to your future. There is something about you that heaven recognizes. You don't see it fully yet, but hell does, and that's why there has been resistance every time you tried to move forward. God says the enemy knows that when you move in love without condition, chains break. Not just for them, but for you. Helping this person will unlock something in you that has been dormant. Something you thought was lost after, disappointment, something you buried to protect yourself. You keep asking God for confirmation, but God says, I've already confirmed through the restlessness in your spy. Peace doesn't always feel calm at first. Sometimes it feels like a push. You are waiting to feel ready, but obedience often comes before readiness. God says, I will meet you in the movement, not in the hesitation. Chosen one, this person may not look like what you expected. They may not align with your preferences, your background, or your comfort zone, but God says, I rarely send assignments wrapped in familiarity. I send them wrapped in humility so you don't confuse calling with convenience. This is not about saving them. I am their Savior. This is about you saying yes to being used. There are blessings that only unlock when generosity flows through you without calculation. You have been in a season where God stripped you of depending on people so you could depend fully on Him. Now, He is asking you to become the answer you once prayed for. Remember the nights you cried asking God to send help? God says, now I'm asking you to be that help. The enemy will try to convince you that you don't have enough, that you're still healing, that you should focus on yourself. And while rest is holy, disobedience disguised as self-protection is not. God says, I am not asking you to neglect why. Ourself, I am asking you to trust that I can replenish you faster than you can pour out. When you give from obedience, heaven refills you differently. Chosen ones, there is a weight on this moment because it is tied to timing. This is not something to put off until it's convenient. God says delayed obedience can look like wisdom, but it still delays the harvest. You don't need a long plan, you do. Need to announce it. You don't need to explain it to anyone. This assignment is between you and God. You have been set apart not because you are perfect, but because you are willing. God says your willingness is what qualifies you. Helping this person will refine your character, sharpen your discernment, and stretch your faith. And yes, it may feel uncomfortable, but growth always is. Comfort never produces calling, obedience does. There's a reason this message is resonating so deeply with you. It's because you already know who this person is. You've been seeing signs, feeling nudges, hearing gentle reminders. God says, stop running from what I am calling you to run toward. I will not let this obedience break you. I will let it build you. Chosen one, your life is not small, and your obedience is not insignificant. What feels like a simple act of kindness to you is a divine transaction in the Spirit. Heaven is watching not to judge you, but to partner with you. God says, when you take this step, I will take 10 toward you. And even now, as you're listening, you're feeling both resistance and resolve. That tension is proof that this matters. God says, trust me enough to move Eve when you don't fully understand. I am not asking you to see the whole staircase only to take the next step. Your yes today is shaping a future you haven't imagined yet, and what you release through obedience will come back to you in ways that will leave you in awe. Because when chosen ones help at God's instruction, destinies begin to shift in the unseen. And that unseen realm is far more active than you realize. While you are weighing pros and cons, heaven is already aligning outcomes. While you are wondering if this is really God, angels are already assigned to assist your obedience. Chosen one, God says the reason this feels heavy is because it carries eternal weight. You are not just helping a person, you are participating in a moment that was written before you were born. You've always been sensitive to God's voice, even when you doubted yourself. There were times you heard him clearly, but fear made you second guess. Fear of being misunderstood, fear of being used, fear of giving too much again. God says, this time is different because I have matured you. You are no longer operating from broken places. You're operating from wisdom. Your discernment is sharper. You're bound. Aries are stronger, and your spirit is anchored. Helping this person will not pull you backwards. It will confirm how far you've come. This person may remind you of yourself at a different stage in life, maybe not outwardly, but inwardly. God says that's not coincidence. Sometimes I send you what you once were so you can become what you once needed. Not everyone gets the opportunity to turn their pain into purpose, but chosen ones do. The very lessons you learned through tears are now tools in your hands. You've been wondering why your prayers have shifted lately. You don't just pray for yourself anymore. You find yourself praying for strangers, for people you barely know, for situations that don't directly affect you. God says your heart is aligning with mine. That's why I can trust you with this assignment. If you were still self-centered, I wouldn't even ask. Chosen one, helping this person does not mean you will have all the answers. It means you will be willing to walk while trusting God to light the path step by step. The enemy loves to overwhelm you with what if, so you stay frozen. But God says faith moves before certainty. If you wait until everything makes sense, you will miss moments that require trust. There is also a spiritual exchange happening here. God says when you help this person, something will break off of you, a residue of disappointment, a lingering fear of lack, a mindset that says you have to hold tightly to survive. Generosity loosens the grip of fear. Obedience dismantles scarcity. You will realize you are far more supplied than you thought. You might be thinking, God, why me? Why can't someone else help them? And God says, because you will do it with the right heart. Others might help for recognition, for control, for obligation. But you will help with humility. You will help without making them feel small. You will help without reminding them of their weakness. And God says that kind of help heals in ways money alone never could. Chosen one, this assignment is also about trust. God says, I am watching how you respond when no one is clapping, when there is no platform, when there is no immediate reward. I don't test you to trap you, I test you to promote you. What you do in private obedience determines how much I reveal in public blessing. There are doors that have been slow to open because God wanted to make sure your earth was aligned before he released the weight of what's coming. You've been asking for expansion, influence, increase. God says influence without compassion is dangerous. Increase without humility destroys. So before I elevate you, I need to confirm that love still leads your decisions. This person may never know the full impact of what you did. They may move on, they may grow, they may forget details, but heaven will remember. God says every act of obedience is recorded. Nothing you do at my instruction is ever wasted. Even when it feels unseen, it is stored up. You've been in seasons where you felt overlooked, where you wondered if God noticed your sacrifices. God says, I saw every tear, every quiet prayer, every time you chose integrity over convenience. This assignment is not punish them. And it is confirmation that I trust you. I don't entrust delicate things to careless hands. Chosen one, you are not responsible for their outcome, only for your obedience. Let that free you. You don't have to micromanage the results. You don't have to carry anxiety about whether they change or appreciate it. God says, release control and keep your heart pure. I will handle the rest. There is healing coming through this. Helping others has a way of reminding you of your own strength. You will hear yourself speak words of encouragement and realize you believe them again. You will offer hope and notice it returning to you. God says some healing happens not by retreating inward, but by pouring outward under my direction. The enemy will try one last time to stop you. He will use timing, distraction, and doubt. He will whisper later, not now, you're too busy. God says, don't let urgency masquerade as wisdom. If I am pressing this on your heart now, it's because now matters. Chosen one, this help may look small to others, but heaven measures differently. A conversation can be a lifeline. A seed can be a bridge. A moment of compassion can prevent a lifetime of regret. God say, you may never fully know what you prevented by saying yes. You've been praying for alignment, for things to fall into place. God says alignment often begins with obedience that feels inconvenient. When you move, things will start to shift quickly. Conversations will happen. Opportunities will arise. Clarity will increase, not because you earned it, but because you positioned yourself. There is also a generational aspect to this. God says your obedience will speak beyond you. What you do now sets a pattern. It teaches heaven how to move through your bloodline. You are breaking cycles of selfishness, fear, and isolation. You are modeling what it looks like to live led by the Spirit. Chosen one, you are not behind. You are right on time. This assignment is not delaying your destiny. It is activating it. You are stepping into the kind of obedience that accelerates growth. After this, you will notice a new confidence in your spirit, not arrogance, but assurance. The kind that comes from knowing you can trust God and yourself. You've always wondered if your life would make a difference. God says it already is. Even now, your yes is echoing in places you can't see. Don't underestimate the power of alignment. When heaven and earth agree, miracles become natural. And as you move forward, God says, stay humble, stay sensitive, stay obedient. Don't announce everything. Don't seek validation. Let me be your reward. There will be a moment later when you look back and realize this was a turning point, a quiet one, but a powerful one. Chosen one, your heart is still tender, and that's a gift. Protect it, but don't close it. I will guard you as you move. I will cover you as you give. I will restore you as you obey. This is not the end of something. It is the continuation of a calling unfolding in real time. And as you take this step, as you lean into what I am asking, you will begin to sense that familiar peace returning, the kind that doesn't come from understanding everything, but from knowing you are exactly where God wants you to be, moving in sync with his voice, allowing his love to flow through you, and realizing that this moment, this person, this act of obedience is weaving into a much larger story that is still unfolding. And that unfolding story does not rush. It breathes. It moves with intention, and God says you are learning how to move with it instead of fighting against it. There was a time when you wanted everything explained up front, when you demanded clarity before commitment. But chosen one, maturity has taught you that faith is not about control, it is about surrender. This moment is teaching you how to trust without gripping, how to give without fear, how to obey without needing reassurance from people. God says the reason you feel a quiet seriousness about this is because your spirit recognizes destiny when it's near. Not loud destiny, not dramatic destiny, but purposeful destiny. the kind that doesn't announce itself but shifts lives anyway. You are being invited into a sacred exchange, one where heaven supplies and you simply agree to be the conduit. There were seasons when you felt emotional, lie unavailable, when you pulled back because caring felt dangerous. You told yourself you were protecting your peace, but deep down you were also protecting your heart from disappointment. God says peace is not the absence of giving, it is the presence of trust. This assignment is restoring your ability to love without losing yourself. Chosen one, you are not weak for feeling compassion. You are strong because you didn't let hardship turn you cold. The enemy tried to convince you that your softness was a liability, but God says it is your strength. A guarded heart can survive, but a surrendered heart can transform atmospheres. This person is not coming into your life to drain you. They are coming to reveal something about how God has grown you. You will notice that you are calmer than be. 4, more discerning than before, less reactive than before. Where you once rushed, you now listen. Where you once overgave, you now give wisely. That is growth. God says you don't have to announce your obedience to be validated. Heaven sees it. Sometimes the most powerful moves are the quiet ones, the ones done without witnesses, the ones where it's just you, God, and a decision that shapes more than you realize. There is also something healing about being trusted with responsibility again. After disappointment, you questioned whether you could still be used. You wondered if your mistakes disqualified you. God says nothing you went through was wasted. It refined you, it prepared you, it positioned you. Chosen one, don't be surprised if resistance increases right before you act. Often confirmation. The enemy doesn't fight what doesn't matter. He resists moments that unlock momentum. God says move anyway. This help you are giving is not enabling, it is empowering. You are not taking God's place in their life. You are partnering with him. There is a difference. And because your heart is aligned, God will give you discernment to know when to step back and when to lean in. You may notice that after you obey, clarity begins to flow more freely. Decisions that once felt confusing will start to feel obvious. Your prayers will feel lighter. Your spirit will feel less burdened. God says obedience unclogs spiritual channels. Chosen one, you have always carried a deep sense of responsibility. Sometimes you confuse that with pressure. God says this is not pressure, it is privilege. Not everyone is trusted with divine assignments. Many are gifted, but few are willing. You don't need to fear being overlooked anymore. God sees you. Promotion in the kingdom doesn't always come with applause, it comes with peace. And that peace will confirm that you are aligned. This person may cross your path at a moment when you feel tired. God says that's intentional. I want you to. Learn that my strength flows through your willingness, not your energy. You don't have to be at your best to be obedient. You just have to be available. Chosen one, there is a reason your heart still responds to God's whisper. You didn't let bitterness silence it. You didn't let disappointment harden it. That alone is evidence of your calling. As you help, don't expect perfection from yourself. You may feel awkward. You may question your words afterward. God says, trust that I can work through imperfect obedience. I am not looking for flawless vessels, only willing ones. This moment is also teaching you restraint. Helping doesn't mean overextending. Giving doesn't mean abandoning wisdom. God says you are learning balance, and balance protects longevity. You have been stepping into a season where your life feels more intentional, less reactive, less chaotic. God says obedience sharpens focus. When you say yes to what matters, distractions lose their power. Chosen one, there are layers to this assignment. What begins as helping one person will ripple into other areas of your life. You will notice increased confidence in making decisions, deeper trust in God's timing, and a renewed sense of purpose. You don't have to worry about missing out. Obedience never subtracts, it only rearranges. God says what you release will return in the right form at the right time. There is a gentleness returning to you, not naivety, but grace. The kind that comes from knowing you survived and still chose love. That is rare. That is powerful. Chosen one, lay go of the need to be understood. Let go of the need to explain yourself. Obedience is not a debate. It is a response. You are not alone in this. God is with you in every step, every decision, every moment of hesitation. He is not asking you to leap blindly, but to walk trustingly. And as you continue forward, you will realize that this act of obedience is aligning you with a rhythm that feels familiar yet new, a rhythm of trust, of surrender, of quiet confidence, the kind that carries you through uncertainty without panic. Chosen one, your yes matters more than you know, not just today, but in the days ahead. This is not the climax of your story. It is a continuation of a calling that is deepening, maturing, and expanding as you learn to move with God instead of ahead of Him or behind Him. Staying sensitive, staying open, staying obedient, allowing each step to prepare you for the next, knowing that this moment, like many others before it, is weaving seamlessly into a greater purpose that is still being revealed, still being formed, still unfolding in ways you can OT yet see, but will one day recognize as divine alignment in motion. Chosen one, as you stand at this moment, understand this clearly. Obedience is not the end of the journey. It is the doorway into deeper alignment. What God has been asking of you was never meant to shrink you, exhaust you, or take from you. It was meant to reveal who you have become. You are no longer the person who gives out of fear, obligation, or approval. You are the one who gives out of discernment, love, and trust in God's voice. This act of help is not about proving your faith. It is about expressing it. And as you move forward, you will notice that your spirit feels lighter, your direction clearer, and your confidence steadier. Not because everything suddenly makes sense, but because you chose obedience over hesitation. God says, remember this moment because it marks a shift. From this point on, you are no longer questioning whether you can be used. You are walking knowing that you already are, and that every step taken in alignment with Him is shaping a future that will one day testify that your yes mattered far more than you ever realized.